Hello and welcome back to another West London Sport podcast. I'm joined today by Ian McCullough, Ben Kosky and Kevin Gallen to chat QPR. Obviously not a great result on Sunday, so the six-game unbeaten run come to an end with a 2-0 defeat to Stoke City. I was at the game, to be honest. I don't think there was a lot between the two sides. Obviously QPR had a lot of attempts on goal. Key moments didn't go their way. I think obviously if Charlie Austin's penalty goes in, I think QPR probably get a point from that game, maybe even push on and get three given the record they've had with scoring late winners after equalising. Kev, what did you think of the game? Do you think you can just put it down to being one of those days, or do you think there was a little bit more to it than that?
No, I think it was more of a case of one of those days. I think Stoke came with a good game plan, very compact, disciplined. Campbell up front was always a threat with his pace and power, and they've got some good players. And the number 8 who scored the second goal, I can't remember his name.
Ranjic.
That's yeah. And not only did he score the second goal, but he played a really lovely ball in for the first goal. So they were a good team. But like you said, I think if Charlie or whoever, if we score the penalty, well, Charlie missed the penalty, but whoever takes the penalty and scores, QPR right back in the game, kick into the loft end, and I could have seen us go on to win that game. I don't think there was too much of a problem with the performance in general. I just think they just got the goals at crucial times, and the big moments didn't go for us with the penalty. And even when we were 2-0 down, George Thomas comes on and he could have had a hat trick. And
yeah,
so even like the first one with the header, but the second one he's got to do better and just maybe dink it over the keeper. And that might be just a bit of ring rust because he hasn't been playing regular. But if he scores that, with 5 minutes to go and whatever 5 minutes extra, I could see QPR then getting an equaliser. So I think it was a more case of one of those days. I don't think it's the end of the world, but obviously the problem with the wing backs is a bit of a problem with the injuries. So they need to get them players back and very sharpish.
Yeah, I think Thomas and Amos come on and change the game. Thomas didn't really look confident enough in front of goal, did he, to get the chances he took. Just like a minor kind of observation from the game as well, Kev's like Mark Warburton only naming 6 subs on the bench, and obviously he touched on the injury problems there. That's obviously, and he said it in his press conference after that's why he did that. But why don't you think he wouldn't name why wouldn't he name a youth player on the bench? Like what would go into the thinking behind that?
Well, the thing that I can only think of 2 things. He's named 6 to sort of to state to the people upstairs, look, I need
which he said he didn't after in the
I know, but it's still
yeah.
Still, he says he didn't, but they'll still be thinking why we've only got 6 subs. The crowd, the supporters, we're all thinking why is he only named 6 subs? Why did he put a young lad on there? I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, maybe he feels that a young lad doesn't deserve that at the moment. He might feel that a young lad has to earn the right to get on the bench and not just as a token gesture. Who knows? But I think it's more of a case of, and I know he's denied it, but I think it's more of a case. Come on, I need some reinforcements in January.
And you mentioned the wing back depth there as well. I think that was one of my things I thought was most obvious during the game, was like how much that lack of, I say lack of depth, it's not really, it's just how many injuries they've had in that area. It's like 4 wing backs injured.
There's just 4 players out. And now I was just thinking about it today, is the injuries, because that role is so demanding of up and down. And Callum's got a hamstring. Wallace, hamstring again. I don't know what Moses and Adoma have got. Are they muscle injuries, or are they knee injuries or impact injuries? But it is a very demanding role, that, because you have to, when you haven't got the ball, you're a right back, and when you've got the ball, you're a right winger. So it's up and down. It's a very demanding role in the team, and for 4 players to be out in one hit it doesn't really happen that often, does it? 4 players in 2 right wing backs and 2 left wing backs. So it's a strange situation. And what do? Do you go and buy someone in the transfer window, or you get a loan for a month? Because if you do buy someone in the transfer window, then 4 comes back, and now you've got, with Kako, you've got six wing backs when you only need 2. Difficult. difficult decisions to be made.
I was surprised to see Field go at left wing back. I don't think he did necessarily a bad job. I just think it looked quite obvious that he was out of position. And on the other side, I think Kakai's solid defender, but I don't think a wing back is really his game. Obviously he doesn't get up and down the same way that Odebajo or Adoma does, and that's not a knock on him. I think that's just his game. He's probably better on the right side of centre back in a three, or it's like a right back in a flat back four. Ian, I know obviously we just said there that there wasn't a whole lot between the two teams, but I know you weren't too impressed. You said there was a lot of sort of under par performances, particularly in that midfield area, that you weren't too impressed.
Yeah, I think Vrancic, the Stoke midfield, he ran the show really, didn't he?
Yeah.
He was very impressive, and I'm not convinced that Dozzell is quite ready for first team regular football in the centre of the park, to be honest. He's a very technically gifted player, you can see that. But he did that no-look pass at Cardiff, which kind of stands out for Andre Gray's goal, but you can't be living off that. And for me, I mean, Kev would be more qualified than me to comment on this, but he just needs to do more. There's more to it than just putting a nice pass and then looking back and admiring it. And I think that when he plays with Johansson, it reduces Johansson's effect on a game. I think Johansson plays better when his best games in the QPR should have been alongside Sam Field in the middle of the park. And I do think when Luke Amos came on, the midfield looked a lot better. And the same thing happened when he came on against Huddersfield. The midfield looked a lot better. And the same thing happened when he came on against Blackburn, and the midfield looked a lot better. Now, I'm not saying that Dozzell's not a good player. He is. He's talented. I'm just, he's young. It's a big step up from League One into the Championship. And, there's a lot of people talking him up being the new Ali Forlan, etc., etc. But for me, he needs to have a bit of time on the bench, I think, to kind of, look at how he can improve what he needs to do in the middle of the park. Because, I mean, particularly he lost the ball for the first Stoke goal. That can happen, but you've got to try and win it back. He didn't. He just almost stood there and watched the guy kind of move away and play the pass. He just needs to. I think Kev did mention a few episodes ago about being a bit more athletic, a bit more dynamic, and yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. What do you think we learned from the game, Ben?
I think we learned pretty much the points that you've already covered. And as Kev said, it's really terrible luck to have the injuries on both sides with the wing backs at this stage all in one go. I mean, you can't legislate for that, and it's interesting, as he says, that the role that they play, that may contribute to it. I certainly don't think we should be panicking. Stoke deserve a lot of credit. They look very well organised. They had a game plan and they carried it out. And let's not forget as well, the goalkeeper had an exceptional game too. He's made some very good saves. It just felt like one of those days where he's just not going to be beaten, and those happen. One thing that pleased me was that Mark Warburton stuck with the system. I think that there would be a temptation. I mean, when I saw the team sheet at first, I thought he must have gone to a back four.
Or Willock at wing back again, like he did before.
Yeah. So I was pleased that he's gone. That he stuck with the system that has brought success. And inevitably, you're going to have people playing out of position. And I think you said, Dan, Sam Field did a pretty good job for someone who's probably not played that role before. And Osman Kakai, I think, again, it's been touched on. He looked like a fullback going forward. Whereas Adoma looks like a winger when he goes forward, as you would expect. But you maybe have to look at how you can shuffle around what you've got. I mean, it strikes me one other option, might be that we have Barbe go out to left wing back, as I think he's done once before in the season. Possibly you then have, say, Sam Field or maybe Don Ball drop into the back three. Because I think that's one thing we've got to keep in mind, is the one area of the team where there are options at the moment is central midfield. There's an awful lot of players there competing now for two places because everyone's fit. So maybe you have to look at that and who you can shuffle around from there. And I think, of course, again, it comes down to an injury situation. The other problem is that very reliant on Charlie Austin lasting as long as he can up front. because there aren't the options there. You know, this is a period. Teams go through these sort of periods, and you just have to try and fit some square pegs into round holes for a couple of weeks, and then see how you go. And I think that's really all you can take from the game. As always, of course, you lose a game, the unbeaten run comes to an end, and the important thing is always how you respond after that.
Yeah.
Like, just jump in here. I thought he should have changed it. I thought he dropped the ball a little bit, going sticking with a 3-5-2, because you've got two guys playing out wide that aren't good crosses of the ball or not natural part of their game. Maybe at half time he should have changed it and gone maybe 4-4-2 or 4-3-3. That's what I thought. I just think it obviously wasn't working what they had in the first half, and I understand why he started with that formation, but I think maybe he should have changed it up.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what he does next game now. Okay, well, it's obviously almost Christmas time, which almost also means it's almost January transfer window time, and the reports have already started. Dave McIntyre's report yesterday on West London Sport is that Mark Warburton would like to bring in a central defender in the January transfer window. Kev, obviously Jordy Device out for a little while, should come back after the January transfer window. I mean, with his injury, do you think that's a position they should prioritise, that they need to strengthen in the window, or not?
I'm not too sure. Well, that's a good question. I mean, Jordan Device obviously has got problems where he can't play a significant amount of games without breaking down. I mean, this is how many times has he broke down since he signed last year? I mean, this might be the fourth or fifth. So they obviously I've recognised that a problem, that behind the scenes they're thinking, well, he can only play a certain amount, break down. Would I prioritise? No, not really a centre half, because you got three. Don Ball can cover there if necessary. Sam Field has got the physique. You could see him playing in the centre because he's got a good football brain and he's got composure and calm. So I wouldn't prioritise, but obviously they think that Jordy Device has a problem behind the scenes, as in he can't last the season. Would I prioritise? I mean, Seny Dieng is going away for the African nations. Are they going to do something with a goalkeeper? Do they trust Jordan Archer to come in and play for the month? I still feel another striker would be a boost, just in case of injuries and loss of form. But when everyone's fit, the squad's pretty full. I think we've got a really good squad. It's just got to keep them fit, obviously, and that's the hard. When the games in the Championship come quick and fast, Saturday, Tuesday, and then the Christmas period is massive, isn't it? I don't know. It depends what money they've got to spend. Are the board going to back the manager and, you know, get some high quality loans in from maybe from the Premiership, which we did last year to great effect with Charlie Austin and Stefan Johansson. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah,
I would be prioritising the centre half right now.
I think for me, like, I can understand why he might want a centre back in, because I think if you're trying to sustain a promotion challenge, I don't think you'd want to play Kakai or Wallace or Field or Ball at that position for an extended period, and one more injury and they would have to do that, I think. And like you say, the real problem here is obviously the Device injury is probably what's sparked this and his inability to stay fit. But I think the issue I've got with it is Connor Masterson's out on loan at Cambridge, and I know Warburton's pretty keen. He said he's reported to want to keep him out there and to keep developing. But I mean, he's 23 now. I thought when he did play for QPR, obviously we're going back a little bit now, when he was probably a couple of years younger, he had a little spell in the team. I thought he looked pretty solid, and I don't think you'd want him starting every week in the Championship, but I think as a backup centre-back, it'd be a pretty good option. And, you know, it's tough because you're trying to develop him out on loan, so maybe you don't want him to come and sit on the bench. But I think maybe if you bring him back, have him as the backup option, then you can maybe use the funds maybe elsewhere. But what do you think about this one in the centre-back, Ben?
Well, I would disagree with you there, Dan, to be honest. I think, as you say, when I actually feel a centre-back probably should be the priority. I think it's really quite a concern, as we said, with Jordy Device, and then you are reliant on one of your other three central defenders not getting injured, not getting suspended, which again is quite a possibility at some point. And you say Conor Masterson might be better off coming back to QPR, but again, then if everyone does stay fit, he is going to be sitting on the bench. So what is that going to do for his for his development? I must say, I think the priority for Mark Warburton has got to be to try and bring in a couple of players on loan who can cover more than one position. That for me is the key. Ideally, someone who can perhaps play across the defence or play central defence and can operate in a wide role. And then the second area I think they would need to look at getting a loan in is someone who can ideally play either up front or behind the striker, i.e. covering Ilias Chair, who's going to be away at the African Nations as well. Goalkeeper, I've got to say, I don't see that as a problem. I think you should always have a view that, if your number two keeper is good enough to be your backup, then he's good enough to play. And I think they've got to show a bit of faith in Jordan Archer. They've also got Joe Walsh, who's very highly thought of, and I think might even get a game here and there, perhaps in the FA Cup during that period. So for me, those are the priorities: some cover defensively and someone who can maybe just cover for Chair and offer a bit of help to the strikers, because again, looking very thin on the ground up there. And I think really it's trying to get that variety for me is probably the key, rather than overloading the squad. As Kev said, we've got a good squad. It's balanced. It's most bases are covered when everyone's fit, but at the moment not everyone's fit, and so I think a couple coming in would be good.
I suppose, Ian, when you look at the stats, I mean, they only have to tell you that the area QPR most need to improve in is defensively. So if you're looking at it from that perspective and you think about what Mark Warburton's thinking about, can you understand why a centre-back is being viewed as one of the priorities this window?
No, don't know. Don't think they need one at all. I think if you play a back three, Kakai can play there. Don Ball played there, with good effect in a couple of games last year, has played there in his career. As Kevin mentioned, Sam Field has played there. I think you need to find a left wing back, because Sam McCallum's not a QPR player. He's on loan. Lee Wallace, as effective as he is, he's 33, 34, 35, whatever he is, he can't stay fit. And really, the way QPR play, the wing backs are such an integral part of how they how they attack, and particularly on that left where Wallace links up really well with sort of Willock and Chair. I think it's a real issue. They need to address that, really. It wouldn't surprise me again. They almost signed George Cox from who was at Brighton, who's at Fortuna Sittard in Holland now. He was very, very close to happening. He didn't. I think they wanted too much money for him, which is why they went for McCullum. But it wouldn't surprise me if they went back and tried to get something done there. But I think that's a real pressing concern, because with Wallace, I mean, you don't know how long he's going to be out for. He could be out for another 6 weeks. McCallum's not back until February. You can't have Sam Field playing left wing back again. They tried George Thomas playing left wing back during the game against Barnsley. It lasted about 20 minutes. So, I think it's the biggest, most pressing concern they have. They have to get someone in, whether it be, if they don't want to spend money on a transfer, get someone in on loan from, a Premier League club. They're unlucky with Badjo. He can play both sides. For him to be injured as well, Warburton expressed disappointment in that. We don't know how long he's out for. Could be a week, could be 10 days, could be 2 weeks. Potentially got 3 games in that time. It's a big problem. They need to get that sorted.
Absolutely. I mean, the injuries are proving to be a killer at the moment, aren't they? That is what's, I think, the main factor. Obviously, been on a good run before this. Luckily, had not had too much of an impact. But I think, we look at the defeat against Stoke, and if a bad run of form now follows, you'd have to say the injuries are playing a part. Yes, with that in mind, we'll move on to our sort of preview and predictions section. Sheffield United up next for QPR on Monday. Been in form recently. I think they've won their last 3, and they're unbeaten in 4 as well. Obviously changed their manager not too long ago. In terms of the injuries, Asked Warburton about it after the Stoke defeat, and he wasn't really too sure. He was still waiting to see on a number of the players, but sort of 10 to 14 days was the guide he gave for most of the injured lads that are out. So obviously Lyndon Dykes, Doma, Wallace, and Odebajo as well. So it looks like they could be missing those again for the Sheffield United game. What are your thoughts on this one, Kevin? Like, how do you think Mark Warburton should approach this with if those players are out again? What would you like to see him do?
It's going to be a tough game. Sheffield United are on form. I think the injury situation with the fullbacks is going to hamper QPR until they get those players back. It's going to hamper QPR's performances and ability to win. Ben said he was happy with that he kept the system. Ian says he should have changed it. I think he might have to change it to a flat back four and play Barback maybe left side centre half, and Kake is more naturally a right back than a right wing back, because going forward it's just not really their championship at the championship level compared to where, like we said, like Adoma, when he goes forward he's a winger, and Kake goes forward and he looks like what he is, a defensive minded player. So it's very interesting. I like Ben. I think someone said just 20 minutes ago, maybe play Barbe left wing back, and I quite like that because it gives you the left-footed balance of the team and keeps you shape. So it'll be difficult. He's got some big decision to make, the manager Warburton, but it's going to be a tough game up there. They're on good form, and I always try and be as positive, and I'm going to go as positive as I can. So I'm going to go 1-1. That's me being very positive.
Well, I'll say my prediction now because I was going to say 1-1 as well. So I think that'll be fun. Yeah, I think that'll be a good point though. I think Sheffield United in form as well. If they can come away with from Sheffield United with a point, I think that would be.
And it's a good pitch up there, Sheffield United. And another thing that will maybe he might change the midfield. Like Ian talked about it, and I spoke about like Dazelle and Johansson in that sort of in the middle. Have they got the legs on that big pitch against, I don't know who they got. So I wouldn't be surprised if Johansson plays with someone else, maybe someone who's got more, running ability than Dazelle, and more dynamism and athleticism in there with him. I think that will help as well.
What do you think, Ian? What's your prediction for this one?
It's going to be a really hard game. I'm surprised he didn't work out with Jukanovic up there. I think he's a good manager at this level. He's proven, but it doesn't seem. They seem a bit dysfunctional up there since Wilder left. You're not too sure what sort of side they are, but they'll have massive support up there. They're in form. It'd be a hard game. I'm going to go for a draw as well. I might go for a 0-0.
Very exciting. Ben, what would you say?
Yeah, and I think I agree with what the other said. It'd be a good point if you go up there and get something, because I've been waiting for them to get to start moving forward all season. I thought at the start of the year they should be sort of in the top 3, top 4 this season, and it hasn't really happened for them. But as you saw with QPR last year, if you start you can have a great second half of the season, and you never know where you end up. But if they win again today, but they win on Monday, Sheffield United, I think, you've got to look at them as a kind of serious sort of promotion candidate, given the squad they've got and the support they have behind them. And but yeah, if Rangers can get a point up there, I think it'd be a good result, but it's going to be very, very difficult.
Yeah, I think a lot of people expected Sheffield United to be up there this year, and certainly the form they've been on recently looks like they are going that way. Ben, what's your prediction for this one?
Well, first of all, Dan, you've come to me last, so you haven't given me many options again. Firstly, I want to say I think Rangers have not been all that lucky with the way the schedule has worked out in terms of when they play certain teams. Nottingham Forest, I remember feeling if only we played them sort of a month ago, you would have fancied it a lot more. And by the time we played them, Steve Cooper had come in and started sorting things out there, and perhaps a similar situation with Sheffield United. Again, a month ago, you'd have really fancied that, and they've obviously got that sort of new manager bounce or whatever you want to call it. And as you said, they're in form. So my thoughts were also a draw, because historically a lot of games that Rangers at Bramall Lane have tended to end in draws. And as you've taken 1-1 and 0-0, I'm going to have to be bold and go with 2-2. So that's what I'll say. What I'll also add is I wouldn't be, as the others have said, I wouldn't be too surprised to see the formation changed. I felt it was right to stick with it against Stoke because it's what has got you success, and maybe you do look for this one-off to change it for the reasons that have been decided. And if you're looking to change the midfield, certainly I would like to say I think Luke Amos certainly is overdue a start for me, the way he's done since he's come back as a sub. So I would like to see him come into the side, and hopefully I'll go with 2-2, and I think we'll be happy with that if it ends that way.
There you go. Let's see. We'll have to wait and see if it's a draw. Thanks for watching. Please remember to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll be back again soon.